Welcome to the Positively No Gambling podcast, the pro football show that is definitely not about betting. My name is Glenn Fraser. It's Tuesday, August 19th, and this is the 2025 team preview for the Los Angeles Rams. All right, the Rams, a pretty popular pick right now for a Super Bowl bid, for over-unders, for winning the NFC West, for winning the overall NFC. A lot of people like the Rams right now. Is the format. We'll look at two big questions from the beginning of the offseason, recap 2024, preview 2025, look at some trends and stats, some look ahead lines that involve the Rams. We'll conclude on those two big questions, give out a prelim over-under pick for the win totals. The final pick for the over-unders will be part of the conference previews posted right before the season starts. Let's dig into the questions. Basically, with the Rams, I have no questions about their offense. It's all about their defense. Did they improve their defense? Obviously, they've got some studs, but their defense, when you look under the hood, was not exactly a dominant one. And then, are they a Super Bowl contender? Like the NFC seems to be more wide open than the AFC. Are the Rams can is this back in their future as early as this season? This excellent scene for all Rams fans. Okay, let's recap 2024. So they were 10 and 7. They won which was good enough to win the NFC West. They lost to the Eagles in the divisional round. So much is being made of that game and how close they seem to be to beating the Eagles. And had they beat the Eagles, they would have hosted the NFC Championship with a good chance to go back to the Super Bowl. So that's a lot of high hopes for this team based on how they ended 2024. Let's talk about how they ended versus how they started. They started off brutal. They were 1-4. This game against Arizona was a complete blowout. Um, they lost to the freaking Bears. I mean, they were a disaster, a disaster. They had an early bye, and then they were 9-3. They were racking up wins against somewhat mediocre opponents, but you can't deny that game they won against the Bills, winning in New York late in the season. I don't care, how talented the Jets are. That's tough. They were decent wins, and they had a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. That's why they were a trendy pick, and they obviously won that first playoff game against Minnesota, which they played in Arizona because of the fires going on in LA at the time, and then they lost that game to the Eagles. So, a couple things that jump out: 2-3 against playoff teams, which is not awful, but they only played five playoff teams last season, so they took advantage of a softer schedule, and they had a negative point differential. I know that's skewed by a couple of weird games like the Arizona game, the loss against Seattle at the end of the season, which they didn't play any starters. Couple of these games early, that definitely skewed things, but undeniable that they scored less points than they gave up, and yet they still made the playoffs and won games. And look, we've seen that happen plenty of times in the past. It doesn't really mean anything, but it's worth pointing out. 8-5 in one score games, which is good. Uh, but there were a lot of one score games, so a lot of close games that went their way. Just something to point out, something worth watching. We talked about the salvage job. I mean, this was one of McVay's better overall coaching jobs, even if the team was less talented than some of the previous versions of the Rams, because he things look very, very bleak there to start off the season. And point out again what everyone's been pointing out all offseason, which were they were a couple of plays away from the NFC Championship and maybe the Super Bowl after that. Okay, so let's look at the offense. So in terms of losses, Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson, Hunter Long, none of those guys are moving the needle, especially when you compare to what they added. So they added Devontae Adams. big time free agent signing. They drafted Terrence Ferguson in the second round as their first pick since they traded out of the first round to Atlanta. A lot of buzz on him. Some other starters here that they added or projected starters: Coleman Shelton, center from the Bears, who worth noting that, all this negative news about the Bears offensive line and the Rams came in and added one of them that might be starting. So just worth pointing out. Uh, Blue chips, Puka Nacua, one of the best receivers in football. Matt Stafford has deserved that title as well. Kyron Williams and Kevin Dotson are their high potentials. The X factor is Alaric Jackson, their left tackle. He's dealing with some blood clots. We don't frankly know if he's going to play this season, play this whole season, so that's worth watching. In terms of make or break, not applicable at all. This absolutely could be one of the league's best offenses. And it was a good offense last year that seemed to have done nothing but improve. You're effectively trading Cooper Kupp and Demarcus Robinson for Devontae Adams and Terrence Ferguson. I'd be shocked to find many people that think that's a downgrade or even a lateral move. So this offense could be very scary. Matt Stafford's dealing with some back injuries. I'm recording this in August, so worth noting, if he goes down at all, can Jimmy G come in and keep this offense sort of at above average or even elite? That's a big question mark. So between the Alaric Jackson question marks, the Matt Stafford question marks, and even it's worth noting whether we think Devontae Adams can be a great receiver. It's not enough, but it's worth monitoring. All right, the defense. This is the unit that is the X factor for the Rams. If this defense can improve significantly, we're talking about a Super Bowl contender here. They added Poona Ford. A lot of people love that. They were criticized as being just a little bit too thin up front, literally, like literally too thin. Poona Ford's a nice nose tackle that they've added coming over from the Chargers. Jared Verse, we all love as a pass rusher. In terms of what they lost, nothing crazy significant here. Bobby Brown, Christian Rosenboom went to the Panthers. Michael Holt, who is an edge, went to Buffalo. They added Ford, like we said, Nathan Landman, interior linebacker from Atlanta, Josiah Stewart, they drafted as an edge. Ty Hamilton, who's probably going to be in rotation on the D line, they added in the draft. Chris Paul, interior linebacker that they added in the draft. Um, their safety, Cameron Kitchens, is definitely a high potential, potentially a great elite safety in the league. Poona Ford, a lot of people love. We mentioned him. As the X factors, I'm just going to put all the guys that they added, whether it be through the draft or through free agency, because on paper, I don't love this defense at all. This is not a make or break season for any one person on this defense, but they need to improve overall and address their flaws, which are numerous, especially in the secondary. I'm a little bit dubious of this secondary and whether it can stop some of the better offenses in football. Schedule, boy, they kind of lucked out. Again, they don't have a brutal schedule at all. Middle of the road, either way you look at it. Tougher at home, easier on the road. For a division winner, this is not too bad. They get to play the NFC and the AFC South and the minimal amount of 2024 playoff teams because the South and the both South divisions only brought one team to the playoffs, so they'll have to play the Bucks. They'll have to play the Texans early because they finished first. They have to play the Eagles and the Ravens and the Lions, which are, obviously three of the elite teams in football. Two of those are on the road, Philly and Baltimore. So this is a tough stretch to start. Houston's a division winner. Tennessee, that should be a win. In Philly's really tough. The Niners, people expect to be better. At Baltimore, always difficult. So similar to last year, we could see a soft start, but the back half of the schedule really allows them to hopefully, for them, rack up some more wins. So I would say looks easy, but this division seems to have improved. I don't think that, the Niners should be a lot better. Seattle's defense, people really seem to like. And I think that Arizona is going to give them challenges, which we saw that they beat them last year. Some of the advanced stuff, some of the Barnwell stats, we talked about them overachieving by a couple of games, right? This is a team that had a 8 8.0 Pythagorean expectation, and they won 10 games. So that's a full 2 games that they overachieved. Their close game record of 8-5. Everything else doesn't really jump out. The O-line, really good on the run protection, maybe a little bit vulnerable in the pass protection, but they did add some guys. So that makes the Alaric Jackson injury or not injury, but situation one to monitor. D-line, nothing jumps out negatively. They have good pass rush, and so really nothing jumps out there. Jared Verse, obviously one of the league's best already, so that's a definite X factor. In terms of the leans, I like them on both of their road games against the AFC South opponents. Week 13 in Carolina, only 4.5 point favorite. That number by the time they play that game could jump significantly. I don't like the Panthers at all. And it's very late in the season, but boy, 2.5 against Atlanta in Atlanta. No weather, no real home field advantage for the Falcons. That number could be a lot higher by the time they play that game. Think they're going to need to take advantage of these road games in the South. Typo here, just will say mixed bag of indicators. Nothing really jumps out indicating an over or an under. There's a little bit of contradictory data here. And it really comes down to, do we trust Stafford? Do you trust the defense? If yes and yes, boom, take their over. I personally don't think that they've improved this defense at all. And that's really where they're vulnerable. And in terms of Super Bowl contender, I'm not buying it. So I'm going to take the under here. Interesting how similar my thoughts are on the two LA teams and the two New York teams when we get to them, honestly. But they have the same exact over under 9.5 wins, and I'm under on both of them, which might happen, might not. We'll see. So I think they'll definitely compete for the playoffs, but they're not a lock by any means to win this division. This division is one of the most competitive in football. The offense will be great. The defense, I don't think will be, and will probably blow a couple of games. I don't buy this Super Bowl hype. And I don't think that they're going to improve on next season. So I'm worried about Stafford and I'm worried about that defense. So before just penciling them in as the NFC West winner or a NFC conference winner or any of that, I would take a real hard look at the Rams. And when I looked at them under the hood, I didn't love what I saw versus some of the other teams in that division and some of the other teams in that conference. So I'm going to go under, and that is the Rams preview. Tomorrow we'll be looking at the Dolphins, another fun team to preview for 25. So that's it for today. See you tomorrow.